We now move ahead with our next panel discussion. As technology reshapes workplaces, women in HR are driving this transformation like never before. Let's welcome our esteemed panelists on the stage as they share their expertise and experiences on the topic Empowered by Tech, Evolving Role of Women in HR. For this, I would like to invite on stage Ruchika Garg, Head HR, Admin and IT, Sharp Business System. Please welcome all the panelists with a round of applause. Rita Mishra, CHRO, TARC. Neha Rana Datta, CHRO, Aspire Hospitality. And to moderate the session, we have back Sugandh on the stage.
Morning, everyone. Thank you so much for assembling for this another session of us. Now, this is a power-packed female session, so it should garner more attention because, females are the way who are leading the way, be it corporate, be it any other segment that you name. Now, since what the topic begins on empowered by tech and evolving role of women in HR, if I say how well or strange does it sound when we say, tech-driven powerhouse, HRs being led into a segment wherein females are leading. Actually, it doesn't sound amiss at all because I have previously also mentioned in my prior panel that HRs are usually a segment which is considered or is a stereotype that only females have been driving this segment and nothing better than what to do because HRs were always considered, back into the organization that they're only, here for getting the Rangoli competitions. But there is an evolving role. And when I say evolving in the nature of tech-driven advancements into this segment. How, in your view, I am opening it to all the panelists, how, in your view, do you feel that your role has been evolved with the oncoming or the onset of tech into the HR?
Well, I would say yes, indeed. HR was termed as the Rangoli custodian of the organization. It's way more than that. It's way more. I would say that AI has not only changed women in leadership; it has changed everybody. It's wrong to be a gender bias that ways. I think a lot of generative AI is what has helped HR. Like ChatGPT. I mean, yesterday I unboxed a new Samsung phone, and it has Gemini as an app which is pre-installed. So the Google AI assistant is a pre-installed. It's no longer an option whether you want to download it from a Play Store or not. And I was just driving through, from Gurgaon to Delhi for this conference, and I was looking at the tips for my new phone, and I saw Gemini. I was like, what is Gemini? And I saw it's a Google AI assistant. And then I went on to see on the internet a little more about it, and which said that, in Samsung, the S series, new series launch, it's a pre-installed feature. Now, this is AI. You have a phone, you have a message, you have a Gemini. So I think HR as a function has a lot of generative AI assistance. We are able to generate content, whether we are able to generate more picture-seek content. We are able to do a lot of more analysis. You put a Excel spreadsheet onto your generative AI app, and it gives you an analysis as to where the gaps lie. So I think it's a great mitigation route to avoid any administrative delay on the spur of not having the right expertise to it. It's great tools, and AI, yes, is the way forward for any department. But for us, administratively, it really reduces a lot of analytics and data, conjuring.
So technology has redefined women's role in HR leadership by shifting focus from administration tasks to strategy. So we are more into strategy and now, as she mentioned, we are now more into making a rangolis and all. So we are shifting our task to making strategies, and a year back, I got an opportunity to work on M&A, which was I never think of or never thought of this to do it. But somehow I was very, raw to work on the M&A. But my MD has given a chance to working on that. So data analytics, working on the strategy side, to be a part of the leadership where you can be a part to the strategy and make things bigger in that way, to play a key important role, that is more important. And data driven is definitely, it's play a key role to your profile to enhance.
Your view on to it.
Yeah, namaskar everyone, and thank you for this opportunity, APAC Media, to be here. So I want to lay out a few statistics which are women oriented. Okay, by the year 2028, there will be almost $320 billion deficit in terms of micro loans that are extended to women. That's the
Okay.
gap.
Okay.
Although, if you look at the data, women entrepreneurs default less than men, and any banking institution can share that data with you. The women or the female consumer is an opportunity that is larger than the China and India markets put together. There will be 2 million AI related jobs available by 2028. There is a 1 million gap in skills.
Okay.
In terms of AI, this is a Bain company study which has recently come out. How do you fill that 1 million gap? If we focus only on men, there'll be a huge talent pool. Also, let's look at the evolving role of HR in leadership and women specifically in HR roles. We are no longer handling roles which are pure HR or the traditional HR that was there in companies, even if you look at very traditional sectors. Ruchika, who's sharing the platform with me, manages HR, admin, and IT.
Right.
I'm not sure about your entire role, Neha, but I'm sure your role is also less transactional and more strategic and partnering with the business to ensure business outcomes are achieved. My role as a CHRO not only is about handling the HR function, about hiring right and ensuring that we're upskilling people, etc., etc. I take care of business excellence as well. Now let me tell you a little bit about Tak and myself. My last 10 years or the last decade has been in real estate, which has traditionally been a man's, forte. When I look at, and we didn't talk about real estate as an opportunity. Real estate in India is a $332 billion industry and evolving. We spoke about IT growing at 9%. Real estate is growing at almost a 24.2% CAGR till 2030. Can I fulfill the requirements just by hiring a certain segment and not focusing on an entire gender? No. So how do I get women into my industry? It's about focusing on those smart women out there who can handle the technology aspects that are getting deployed in real estate as well.
But do you also feel that organizations are actually spending or have their focus on upskilling women through tech, wherein you have a focus of onboarding few women into a male-dominated segment? Do you feel that industries are actually, which was a discussion in my previous panel as well, do you think that companies, corporates, people in real estate, they're actually spending on women upliftment when it comes to the leadership roles?
So let me dial that down a little bit. There is a huge gap of women in STEM industries, right?
Fair enough.
And if you look at it, do I want to hire civil engineers? Do I want to hire women in construction? Or I'm sure my colleagues in energy and EPC will respond in a similar manner. Yes, we definitely do. But are there women who are trained enough? Or even entering university, there's been a drop in the university enrollments in STEM. Okay. So the problem doesn't lie with the corporates alone. It also lies at the university level and the social level as well, where do we have enough programs available to upskill not only women but also men, because the gap in talent is very real. So no segment, irrespective of whether they are men or women, can be left untouched. And I think if we look at it only from a one gender lens, I think we're doing the wrong thing. There is a general gap. So identifying which are the roles within your organization where women can excel is obviously, I think that's a no-brainer. That's the first step. But then all roles actually are facing a talent gap.
Okay. But do you feel that there is a role of universities also to play here, wherein they can open more such courses for women, wherein traditionally that segment is a male dominated one and actually give space to women to enter and excel into it?
Absolutely, but it's not only universities, right? Corporate,
Okay.
I'm saying corporates also have to step in to the universities and guide academia on what the industry requires. If we say it's only in university, there will still be a skill gap.
Which means the courses need to be designed according to the needs of corporates out there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I would like to add on this because we women's are we are responsible our own growth, right?
Right.
If we want to do something, definitely, there are a lot of companies who give a chance to the women's, but somehow I feel a few women's are there, they don't want to step up or they don't want to come in the front. So we are responsible, we have to come up in the front, we need to discuss with the management, yes, this kind of role we want to go on a strategic role or a, on a senior level role, leadership role. And there are many courses in IIM, I guess, in IITs or in any other universities who is providing specifically to for the women leadership
Women
educations.
leadership programs, yes, we do have.
programs is there.
Right.
So definitely, if you want to do something, if you have a kind of jajba in your things, so definitely you can go ahead accordingly. So you need to step up.
But do you think that if there are women enough willing to step up, technology can enhance actually the or cover their lacking points in a way that they are able to live up to a corporate's expectation?
See, and nowadays, not only the university like Coursera, LinkedIn, they are providing a lot of courses. So if you want to do it and upskilling yourself, if your company is not providing, I think this is not the right place. Move ahead and upskill yourself for your own. Do not depend anyone.
Yeah,
Do
what
not,
is your
never.
view on it?
I'd like to add that neither education nor technology is gender biased. Both of them are gender neutral. I don't think there is a course which says that male only or a female only course. I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of a technology setup which is only for women, only for women in upliftment.
Maintained by us only. As a woman, always there is a stereotype wherein at the back of the mind, of course, education is not giving that stereotype, but there are certain courses which are preconceived that they're suitable for women and certain courses which are suitable for only males. Now, we only got to break that stereotype, but my concern is technology enabling women to actually break those biases?
Actually, technology is making life easy for everyone. It's not enabling a specific gender, is what I feel. It could be my personal opinion, but indeed, I feel that, the problem is the imposter syndrome, is because I, as a woman, I'm feeling secondary. Is the reason that I'm not able to, grow up the ladder. It's nothing got to do with the opportunities which are available. I feel that technology is going to inculcate the same confidence in a man as in a woman. Technology is going to uplift cerebral competence of a woman and a man both. But what we need to come out here is from the societal norm that, a woman is supposed to probably engage into a tailoring course or sewing class for a summer break. I mean, one of the finest masters in every designer store is a man. you know I mean, it's one of the finest. You at home, you only have your mother cooking, but the finest chefs are always a man. I work for hospitality, and I think I have like maybe 5% women in the kitchen, 95% are men. So I think the societal bias in hospitality, I feel, is a lot lower, because in comparison to any other industry, I think in hospitality it is a lot lower. You have 95% men behind the range making the most exceptional food for you. You're welcomed not like, I mean, if you come to my house, you're welcomed by my father. He's the host of the house. He wants to open the gate and heartwarmingly welcome everyone. Go to a hotel, your guest relations executive is a female. I mean, the societal norms in hospitality is already far-fetched broken, and I feel technology is going to add to make organizations more gender neutral. For example, in HR, as a recruitment process, when I have technology, as making the pre-assessments, there is no person who's making the analysis. Since there is no person who's making the analysis, the bias doesn't exist. It is, everybody's supposed to fill up the same form. Everybody is supposed to answer the same questions. It is about cerebral competence. If your answers are right, whether you are a man or a woman, it doesn't make a difference. So I think technology is going to uplift the game for the entire industry per se, and cross industry for sure, and not uplift only women is what my perspective is.
Yeah, actually, technology is a game changer in breaking biases and fostering gender inclusive workplace. So technology always play a key role. So if you are technology driven, then definitely you can reach on certain positions. Rita ma'am, what's your view
Yeah,
on
I
this?
want to respond to your initial question was how does technology enabling women in leadership,
Right.
right? So if you look at the construction and projects development, or the manufacturing industry, you look at construction, which are basically been male bastion industries thus far. And we've seen a dip in the number of women who are actually joining these industries. There's been a dip in the number of engineers exiting from university and ready for the workforce. So what is the role of women then? We've actually seen an increase of women participation in uh, in computer science.
Okay.
We've seen them actively involved um, in new technologies which are bound by office, because for some reason women don't want to do project work. It could be social biases, it could be just the fact that, look, as a woman, I don't want to compete with a man to lift 50 kgs. I want to compete with him mentally.
Yeah.
Right? So where is it that women can evolve, and what can they do to reach leadership levels? My submission to the group here, there are HR heads, these are people who influence organizations and people. Focus on sponsorship of women in these areas. There's a lot coming in AI. We know there's a talent gap over there. Let's actively start sponsoring women there, because we know that we might not be able to conquer the world, right, and reach a world where everything is equal. Can it be equitable? Yes. Can women excel in technologies which can enable business? Definitely. I'll give you a small example of how things are changing in construction. We're using 360-degree cameras. We're using virtual reality for for property searches to sell properties. We're using AI to get our 3D drawings of projects. We're using a lot is changing. For example, BIM 360 when it comes to documentation, doing drawings, etc. We know that female architects are the best. They are the ones who are using all of this technology. I would love to hire an IT head as a woman, which I'm trying to do right now. By the way, I'm trying to not only find an IT head, I'm also trying to find a woman. Because I know the way she will visualize certain things, maybe a man would not be able to. No offense there, but,
But is it
there is a difference in the sexes. Let's admit it.
But is it because that you're specifically hiring a female is because you want to open doors to women, or are you hiring women because they're more skilled into this segment?
They're not more skilled or less skilled. I think the perspective that a woman brings to certain roles are different.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm not aiming to get an equal world out there, but there are areas where women excel. There are places where men excel. For example, lifting 50 kgs. I don't want to do it and I don't want to excel in it. It's as plain and simple as that.
I think it's great because what you're trying to say is that you're hiring women for their personality in terms of, how they look at things. You know, I mean, I think women are more agile, women are more flexible. The fact is that, women are managing a multitude of things at the same time. And for them to handle complex scenarios at work comes easy. A man may throw a fit because, they're used to working in a straight line. And it's not because of anything, but yes, societal norms and the way their genome is, if they're at work, I call my husband at work, and he's like, anything urgent? The first question. I said, no, okay, then I'll call you right after my meeting. But when he calls me at work, I ask him, anything urgent? Is it about the kids? Is it about school? Or everything's okay at home? And he says, none of the three, it's something else. I said, okay, fine, I'll call you back. So it's the same response. But yes, my mind is more, more complex in terms of, because I'm always chasing 3-4 things together. I mean, I'm a mother of 3 children. So I travel 15 days in a month. So, managing the school routines, managing the after school routines, my parents' health, my in-laws' health, my husband's routine, my routine, what do I do in my free time? So everything is always ongoing. So hiring a woman for her pluses, and not only the skill is I think is a phenomenal outlook.
So as she mentioned, I think, hiring women's in the leadership role is somehow, it is very important because, we break the biases. Secondly, they are the good people manager. As they can manage their home, they can manage the office very well. So, that is more important to us. Like, we can give a chance to the other female employees to come up on a leadership role. So I think it's a brilliant job she's doing, and definitely.
But Ruchika and Neha and Rita, you would agree with me, while you have, tons of things that you can count on your fingers wherein females are good at, why are finances still a question when they're termed to be handled by a female, while she's actively handling the finances of her company, dealing with kids, dealing with daily groceries and everything, and managing everything so perfectly, because we have to manage 2 different worlds? But why is finances something which is of scrutiny when it comes to that? Can female handle corporate finances or not, or should they be at a C-suite level wherein they have to handle tons of finances of different segments? Why is still that segment a stereotype?
Sorry, I didn't. If you can rephrase the question.
So my question is, while women are adept at managing myriad of segments in office and home as well, and she's been actively managing the finances of home, why are corporate finances, when it comes to women handling the corporate finances, it is still a question of stereotype that, women cannot handle corporate finances?
I don't think that's true. A lot of the banking institutions, chairmen and people on the board are women. I mean, ICICI, SBI. I'm not from finance, so I'm sorry, I don't recall all the women in leadership in banking sector, but there are several out there. Why are women viewed as inept in handling the financial portfolio? Let me kind of twist that a little bit around and say how many of us, while we all earn, I'm sure there are a lot of women over here, earn very decent salary, how many of us are in control of our finances? You know, how many of us individually own properties? How many of us understand revenue generating assets versus non-revenue generating assets? How many of us are actually actively involved in the investments that our families make in mutual funds on the stock exchange, etc., etc.? While we are all bringing our salaries, I think the important question is to introspect and see how many of us actually are having those conversations in our homes, saying that I am contributing, say, 70% of the investment in this share or in this mutual fund, and therefore I don't think this is right or that is right. I think it starts from the self and the biases we create for ourselves, that, oh, I'm not good at maths, so I'm not good at finance. So these are internal biases that women have to get over. And sorry, if you can manage, if you can manage your home budget, you can definitely look at investments as well. On the male side, I would also ask the men in the room, how many of you have actually educated your spouses and your partners at home on where your investments are? Are you planning your retirement together, or is it just you who's doing the planning? And if that's the arrangement, so be it. But is your wife aware? Because reality is that one of you will go first. Both of you will not die together unless it's in an air crash where you're traveling together, right? So how aware are you making each other's as partners?
There's also a question, is the other spouse interested enough to have the other spouse make it a point of discussion? Let's discuss finances.
It's not a matter of interest. It's a matter of survival.
See, what we have done in this, we have arranged an awareness session of the investment for our female employees, because they are not very handy how to invest our salaries in SIPs or the stock markets, or what is NPS, what is PPF, what is voluntary PF. They are still not aware, because they know the salary is coming and they need to spend at home or somewhere else, because they are still thinking they are not very good in the investment. That investment awareness session has done very well in our organization, and females has started at least a SIP and the NPS contributions from their salary. So if they are earning 50,000, they at least invest 20,000 or 25,000 from the salary. So that is a good part, which I think every organization to make them aware how to invest, or एक session हो जाए, एक knowledgeable session हो जाए, in which they can started things in that way. That is more important, I guess.
Yeah, and if you look at, nowadays banking, all your investments happen on the phone, right? It's so easy to get knowledge. You use a chat GPT, you'll at least get the fundamentals in place. I'm not saying it's all correct, but at least your fundamentals will get right. So technology is available. It's about people picking it up, learning from it. And yes, it starts from the self. If you're interested, you learn. If you're not interested, you're
But
not going to learn.
how do you feel that people who are interested, let's say females who are interested, how can technology leverage their knowledge, or how can technology be an enabler wherein it can help them, uh, you know, be an acceptable part of the society, wherein her knowledge or her wisdom is welcome by the spouse?
See, I think networking has a lot to do with it. WhatsApp groups. You have so many platforms. You have LinkedIn. You have even Facebook, Instagram, etc. It's how are you creating that network which involves not only women, but also the men? Because I can keep my flag of feminism flying high, but it's about convincing the men, right? It's not about being at the table with men. It's about redesigning that table and saying which accommodates both men and women. I mean, let's face it, there is a yin and a yang. There is a Shiv and there's a Shakti, right? It's complementary. We're trying to get an equal world, and my point is, we will never be equal because we are different, but we are complementary. Can we look at the complementary pieces? right? A man doesn't excel everywhere. A woman doesn't excel everywhere. We don't need to compete with each other. We need to complete. And the world will be more equitable if we understand that we don't have to overcome differences. We have to accept differences and work with each other to become more productive, to become more, help our families grow, our communities grow, our businesses grow. It's that.
But how acceptable do you feel is their intelligence or their wisdom welcome at the leadership roles across organization? Not specific to banking industry. Let's say we do have quite number of women making a mark in the banking and other industries as well. But since office politics is a part of every organization and every enterprise, what in your view is actually the take of existing leadership? See, in certain organizations, while I've been talking to, HRs from across fraternity, I wouldn't name the organization, but they have a segment in mind. We need to have 3% of women sitting in that boardroom. They do not have this concept that we need to have skilled and enabled people sitting on boardroom. It's a checklist for them कि 3% of women boardroom में होने चाहिए. But what is your view on that? Why is that, in boardrooms or in corporates or in C-suite ladder, there is a specific percentage, resolved for women कि इतना ही percentage of women हमें बस लेना है as a mark of checklist.
That's a very, very controversial subject you're kind of pushing me into, because it talks about reservation of women, whether it's in the boardroom or in politics or in the parliament or for jobs.
But it's playing a very major role in tech.
Yeah. I choose not to respond to that question right now. I think we're digressing a little bit from the topic, which was about evolving role of women in leadership, right? Like I said, whether that 3% or 1% representation on the board is important or not, for any minority, in any, whether it's a community or in business, for any minority to be accepted, for that needle to move, people who are in power have to make that exception. Okay?
Okay.
So it is not about 3% or 1% or 2%. Our business leaders are is my MD, CEO, promoter, does he, and it's typically a he, understands the value that a woman can bring into his board.
Bang on.
Right? That's where the game will change. Because like I said, I can keep flying my feminism jhanda, so to say, but is the man across the room willing to actually accept it, right? Understands that when I'm saying something, it's of value. It's not just a sentiment, but it's pure business value. There is enough and more studies out there that talk about how women in business are successful, how they contribute. I think it's about education and the men in that boardroom being educated about the value that a woman would bring. And whether that's one woman on that table or there are 3 women on that table, it doesn't matter. There are more than enough exceptions in politics where women have exceeded,
right?
Have been prime ministers, have been presidents. I think, and if you look at Asia as a region, we've had more women than Europe and America. America till date doesn't have a woman president. But we've had Indira Gandhi, we've had Sheikh Hasina, we've had Benazir Bhutto. So it's that. I think it's about, again, coming back, whether it's politics or business or any other sphere, it's not about male and female. It is about the value the individual brings to that conversation, to that intent.
Neha, what is your view on this? I mean, any anecdote or any analysis that you would want to share, like Rita has done?
I think what Rita has said so beautifully and in little words is that meritocracy is what we need to focus on. It is not about 3% or 30% women on the table. It is about someone who's cerebrally competent to be on the table. It is the meritocracy fundamental that we must focus on. So I completely concur with that thought because I am not an ardent feminist myself. Yes, I do believe in the fundamental of equality, but like she said beautifully, that I'm not here with the flag that of feminism. Neither am I. I'm not an ardent feminist. But yes, if I bring meat on the table to chew, I deserve to be on the table. So it doesn't matter what is my gender.
Also, has technology actually helped women evolve into a corporate ladder? You could say in terms of upskilling themselves, or could could be in terms of gaining knowledge of that segment, or because women, I feel, across any segment, not specific to any industry, they've always been hungry to be counted in. They have that expertise, but they are always striving hard to prove their acumen. Do you think that technology has been an enabler in bringing out the best that a woman has in any segment?
Yeah, definitely. But like Neha rightly said, it's both men and women, right? Technology is a tool. At the end of the day, how you utilize that tool is up to you. How has it helped women? Uh, I think Simin in the last panel talked about micro learning,
Right.
right? Anything you want to do today, I mean, what's your first response? You're thrown a challenge, the first thing you will do is Google. If you can't find it on Google, you'll go to a YouTube. If you can't find it on YouTube, you'll probably do a chat GPT. That's how you're learning. And it's not only men, it's women also. Women are doing it slightly faster, I have to admit, because our need to prove ourselves is, I would say, 2x of what men need to
Men,
do,
right.
right? So women work harder to prove themselves. They will do 2x
Right.
the time of the amount of research that is involved, and they are mostly, I know I'm stereotyping again, but mostly they are more diligent about the details. So, is technology that tool that helps them? Definitely. They're using it better, is what I feel.
Right.
But I don't have statistics to prove that they are better or men are better at it. It's an anecdotal, experiential assumption that I'm making over here.
Since you've been in the industry for so long, probably this is your viewpoint and is the collaborative viewpoint of, I would know, most of the people here. Ruchika, do you have something to add to it?
So, decision making with the data driven, definitely it helps to not only female and the male employee as well. So technology definitely play a key important role, and we should, everybody should be very handy with the data driven things. If you don't know how to do that, as she mentioned, there is a lot of things to learning in YouTube or Google. Just do it yourself, and go ahead.
My last question of the day. How can organizations ensure that women HR leaders get equal opportunities in this digital transformation initiative? We can begin with
Sure. I'm sorry to say this again and again, but I think digital transformation again is for everybody, not only for women. I'm an ardent believer that I think the transformation has to be feminine. I think females are more faster, they are more creative, they are more flexible. I think you should make the transformation feminine. It will impact both the genders equivalently. So, I think it's actually, the problem is the issue is so deep rooted that we are all imagining it, to just disappear in a few decades. Women have started to come out to work now, in probably last 50 years. A lot of women would not, I mean, the societal norm was that women will stay at home. The reason why women are not participating in the financials of the house, because they were not the ones who were contributing to it. Yes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Snigdha. Sorry to take over the conversation, but since the overarching topic that I kept noticing was empowered by tech, and that is what our moderator was trying to come back to again and again as well. And while, I completely agree that neither education nor technology, differentiates based on the gender. But, just to share my 2 cents, I do feel that technology has empowered women in many ways. Like, the panelists themselves said that, women multitask. It is probably our need, it is probably our nature. I don't want to, analyze on what drives us to do that. But technology has made it possible for us. Like, because of technology, we are able to work remotely. So we are able to handle our household and office together, right? Because of technology, we now have asynchronous trainings. So, right, if I am a trainer, right, then I don't have to be in the office. I can have pre-recorded trainings and I can distribute them to people and people can leverage that. So that frees up my time. Same for recruitment, right? A lot of the recruitment steps are now happening digitally. And technology has made that possible. And that has freed up my time. And now I can go and watch the interviews or the introduction videos when I have the time and flexibility to do that. So all that has been made possible because of technology. And that is where I feel technology has empowered women. Because there are a lot of societal expectations on women. We are not able to, sometimes we have to step back because we are not able to give it the time it deserves. And when we have this power of technology, then we are able to do the best of both worlds. So that is my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Actually, deliberately or undeliberately, you have actually made certain pain points more clear that with the onset of tech, you are not time bound. As and when you get time in a day wherein you're free from other responsibilities, you can actually invest that time in yourself because technology has enabled that, and that learning is available to you on clicks of mobiles is what she's been trying to say.
Sure. Great. Good to hear you. But however, I do feel again that there is no defined dictionary which says that I'm supposed to manage my house. So how is it that technology is helping a woman and not a man? I mean, I'm traveling 15 days in a month. We have a CCTV camera installed in our kids' room. I hardly go to that app. It's my husband who's a primary parent for a large part of the month, and he's using technology to be a more present parent. So I think technology has benefited both. It has not enabled women. I think it has enabled the mankind. So it has enabled my husband to be a better partner. It has enabled my father to be a more engaging grandparent because he does not have to switch on a television. Today he's using Miko the robot with my children, and he may not have answers to all the questions, but Miko has. So I think it has enabled the mankind, is what I say. Nobody needs to hustle. There is no dictionary which says that women have to do more. There is no dictionary which says that I am supposed to cook or I am supposed to, which is again where I come back to the norm, the societal norm that we are all trying to break is so deep-rooted that it will take a lot more decades for us to be close to equity. But my problem is that, all of us probably are so anti this phenomenon, and so pro the feminism flag, is that we don't understand that actually it's time for progressive and time forward men. It is one step forward for them as well. It is, I come from a family of time forward men. I am a Jat. And in my family and societal norm, I should have been married by 21, raising kids, looking after my household norms. I'm the first female to go out and work in my family. And, my father was so progressive. I don't have a supportive husband. I have a husband who believes in equality. He's not supporting me. Neither am I supporting him. You know, I don't make presentations on his behalf. He doesn't make presentations on my behalf. I go conquer the world on my own. He goes conquers the world on his own. So I don't have a supportive partner. I have a time forward boss, you know, who says that, you know, I'll handle a few meetings in the morning because you're supposed to attend this conference. That's time forward, you know, that's progressive. I think one step, if it's 2 step ahead for women, it's 3 step ahead for men. You know, they are embracing this change so beautifully. And, you know, I'm privileged, maybe I'm lucky, but I'm privileged to be in an atmosphere wherein technology has embraced the mankind, yes. You know, I'm in an atmosphere wherein it has a barrage of time forward and progressive men around me, you know, who've not let me down, who've not pulled me down, who've not made me believe that I'm any less. You know, so I think I've been very lucky, I've been very fortunate. And when you sit on such forums, you talk about your own life experiences. You know, I cannot just go and read a book and see, or go Google the internet and see, you know, what all discriminations are happening towards women, and you know, let me just talk about those. I mean, if there's nothing of that sort that has happened to me, I will have no complaints. You know, I can't be speaking on any other woman's behalf. So I do feel it's an enabler for mankind, and I would take it so.
Definitely. I mean, I totally agree with her.
Yeah.
Still, you know, men should take ahead 3 steps faster than us. Then only, you know, we can
No,
get
fair enough.
equality. So equality in a digital transformation is not a choice. It's a necessity for any business success. That is more important. So it's not like only male or female, but equality is very much important for both the genders.
As she said.
So it is very, very much important for the organizational success. Otherwise, if we are biased that, you know, give the opportunity only female, then we again doing a wrong thing with the company, with ourselves. So set up your own growth and to be a part of the organizational success, which is more important for equality and digital transformation.
Thank you so much, Ruchika. Can we have the parting words from you, Rita, as to what would be the key takeaways and something that you would like to add to the existing conversation that has already taken place?
So we were talking. I was just looking at the you know, the topic for today, and it said empowered by tech, the evolving role of women in HR. I think we should talk about evolving role of HR itself.
Right.
Yes, we know that most HR departments are skewed with having more women than men, and therefore I think it will come out naturally. But what is the role of HR in this digital transformation that is there? HR's primary role is to bring about change and manage that change. If you're a true business partner, it's the change management which is most difficult to manage. It's that cultural transformation, it's that adoption of various things that HR primarily drives. And if you notice that increasingly HR is not the traditional HR anymore, it is about change management, it is about transformation, it is about adoption, right? Technology today has evolved to a level where it's become, it's either a bane or an enabler, you know, the different points of view, but it's here to stay is what we all know. How do you drive adoption? How do you support businesses in terms of analyzing which technology to adopt? Everything is an investment, comes at a cost. There are a lot of organizations that say, oh, cloud is the big deal. AI is the big deal. Machine learning is the big deal. But where does HR, if as HR and you're a strategic partner to the business, your value will come in when you say, hey, there are 50 products out there. Out of that, you know, let's adopt maybe 2. And here is the deep analysis that me and my team has done to say that this technology will work. I think we need to stop adopting randomly. We have to be very diligent in terms of making those choices. And human resources, because now mostly if you look at it, HR is now playing a different role.
Very true.
IT, business excellence, project management offices, administration. These are some additional responsibilities that have been added on to HR, the traditional HR role.
Right.
So that's where I think the value lies in terms of being uh, first choosing the right technology that works for your industry, for your specific organization, and then driving the adoption amongst employees, male, female, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, adoption in the right way, because we all know about technology that it's garbage in, garbage out. The real value comes in understanding the intent of the technology, leveraging it for business uses, and then ensuring adoption is driven to a level where people reach that level of saying, is this good, not good, do we continue with it, not continue with it? These are some decisions that HR can support businesses with.
Now, thank you so much, Rita. The one takeaway from your parting words was adoption also needs to be strategic. There is a lot of content available out for people to learn, but what you need for your own personal growth, you need to map it out that way that there are certain segments that I need to learn and certain which are not required at my hand. So this was a very valid point that you made, said adoption also needs to be strategic along with other measures. Ruchika, your parting word, something that you would like to add?
Foster a culture of innovation, that is more important,
Mhm.
and provide equal access of trainings, tech trainings, digital training to all the employees. So if you are very good in that and you are adopt all the technology, then definitely you can become a part of the organization success.
Thank you so much. Neha, something that you would like to add?
I just say a one-liner that retain what works best for you, and adapt to what is new. That's it. I don't think we should be in a race to just adapt every technological trend that is coming in. Something that may apply to a banking sector may not apply to me. Something that applies to a hospitality does not apply to me. So whatever works for you, just go for it. And we're in no hustle, to be the first in league. But we should be in the hustle to be the best in what we are doing.
Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you
you.
for the audience
you.
for such patiently listening to our speakers. And I would also like to thank our speakers who have taken out time to impart knowledge and such a wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, all the speakers, for an insightful discussion. I think major takeaways that we can conclude from this panel discussion is how the role of HR, and specifically women HR, has seen a shift in the recent times. And it's established fact that technology is lifting everyone, irrespective of their gender. That's not a debate anymore. And it is definitely acting as an enabler. But the focus now should be on choosing and adopting the right kind of technology. What ma'am said, that you should be adopting what suits your organization. And that has to be a strategic move. And also, organizations need to actively involve women in tech-led transformations. And instead of a professional tussle kind of an attitude between men and women, meritocracy is what should be focused upon. So thank you for wonderful insights, ma'am. I would now like to invite Preeti Mathur, Director, Culture and People Experience and Sono, to felicitate our speakers with a token of gratitude. Please welcome her with a round of applause.